This week on the Notorious Scoundrels podcast.
Yep, especially like when you play General Kenobi and you've got like 30 search tokens on the table anyway, just
yeah, just
30.
It's
More like 27, but okay.
yeah, I mean, you know.
The difference.
Tomato.
40 aims!
Welcome to the Notorious Scoundrels, a podcast focused on tactics and competitive play for Star Wars Legion. Hosted by Kyle Dornbos, Michael Barry, and David Zelenka, with Jay Shalansky, the man behind the glass.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Notorious Scout. Come on, Mike.
I'm sorry. Like as soon as you said one, Dave was like,
we're leaving this in, right?
Got him.
All right. Well, we are a bunch of dudes that talk about Legion.
Yeah, maybe Notorious, maybe not. Maybe Scoundrels. I don't know, man. I haven't done anything really Scoundrel-like lately. I haven't really robbed any banks
because apparently I can't say Notorious. So, all right. Well, anyway, I'm Kyle, and I'm here with Mike and David,
hey.
and Jay is behind the glass. How you guys doing?
I'm good. That was hilarious. That was really funny. I wish you guys could see all of our faces right now.
Well, we might actually. So we are coming up on our 1 year anniversary. I can't believe it.
And our podcast is showing its age.
Right? The years have been kind. No. Anyway. Yeah. So we might actually try and do like some kind of YouTube video webcam thing for our anniversary episode, just so you can see us making faces and flipping each other off,
gesticulating wildly at one another.
Yeah. Gesticulating, yes.
Making throat cut motions and
shut up, dude.
Yeah.
Doing the head pat. All right.
Watching Jay leave because he's just so sick of our stuff.
Bye, Jay.
All right. Well, luckily the record button is still on.
Well, thank goodness for that, at least.
All right. So how about we actually talk about stuff? So we're gonna hit. We're gonna hit some quick housekeeping. We're gonna do some Invader League news / predictions. We're gonna talk about the Galactic Republic and Obi-Wan Kenobi in Legion 101, and then we're gonna talk to Starscream, aka Rob, who won an RPQ in Ohio this weekend with an interesting ATST list. ATST back on the table. So, but before we do all that, let's hit some quick housekeeping. So we are selling mats on thefifthtrooper.com. We've talked about these mats already. They are 6x4 mats. They come with, or you can buy separately, some table runners to make them 6x3. And they have 5 different designs, none of which closely resemble Star Wars planets. And
don't infringe on any IP you can think of.
Yes, and they have neat little markers on them to mark the center of the table, and then 18 inches across the center line so that you can place those intercept points in those boxes without having to measure anything. And they are unobtrusive. There's things like rocks and bushes. So they're pretty awesome. I would suggest you go check them out if you're looking for a Legion gaming mat or any other game, since they're 6x4. Thefifthtrooper.com. We also have a Patreon. Hopefully also our first battle report. Saw our first battle report. There we go. It was me and Mr. Steve McLaughlin. It was a super fun time. He played Luke Sabine and I played Krennic Bosk. And we're going to be doing more of that stuff and other things, which we can do with the help of your support via Patreon. So we appreciate that. That's also at thefifthtrooper.com. And let's move on to news.
Welcome to In the News.
So Invader League has started literally today as we're recording, Monday, the 30th of September.
Hell yeah.
Are you guys excited?
Yes. I'm ready.
I'm very excited. I was waffling on my faction
Waffling is an
choice, as you guys
understatement,
know.
Kyle.
So
Yeah.
there's just so many fun things I wanted to play. So first I asked Facebook, and they told me to play Republic, which I wasn't a fan of. So so I ignored the will of the people, and I had
I
the
love
Discord
how
bot flip a
Facebook's
coin.
just like, you know what, we're gonna make Kyle play the only army he doesn't own. You know.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. This is like essentially world's practice for me, because I don't have a lot of time to practice normally. So yeah, I'm not gonna be playing Republic in March, definitely. So it wasn't super practical for me to play them in Invader. Although if the Discord bot did give me Republic, I would have honored the will of the Discord bot, I think. But it didn't. It gave me Rebels. So yeah, boring. I know. That's yeah. I mean,
So since
style,
you are
right?
playing Rebels, are you going to embrace the Tauntaun madness, or are you going to play something different in your group stage games?
I don't know.
You don't have to spoil it fully, but just give us a hint.
No, that's a good question. I mean, we already talked last week about how Tauntauns are not really my playstyle. Although you guys had some good insights on maybe how they could fit my playstyle if played differently. So
I don't know, dude. First time you ever played Tauntaun against me, man, it was real bad for you.
oh yeah, no, it totally was. It was also a situation where I was trying to do too many things.
Yeah.
And I believe you're also playing Palpatine, who we've already discussed as a good Tauntaun counter.
Yes.
But yeah, I was not doing it right. We had no idea what either of us were doing.
I mean,
so.
Palpatine's also just absurdly good. I hear, at least.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I honestly, like, so I did the Discord bot coin flip thing on a whim, and I felt like I should honor the Discord bot, but I do secretly wish that I was playing Empire so I could just do Palpatine. But it's too late. Group stage has started, so we're gonna roll with Rebels. You also said I couldn't win a tournament as Rebels, I think. So
Whoa, I didn't say you couldn't win a tournament as Rebels. I had said that all of the tournaments you have won as the good guys. And therefore, maybe they're just more your style.
They might be. Yeah, I mean, they might be. I guess we'll find out, won't we?
Yeah, we will.
So that's I guess I don't know what I'm running. You guys are running also, Mike. You're running Empire, and David, you're running Rebels, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
As much as I really want to run the new factions, I am also kind of using this as I kind of messed around last season and regretted it. I'm not going to do that this time. A and B, the new factions just are super hard counterable right now with the fact that they each only have like 5 units available or whatever. That's just not interesting to me. Like, if you're playing droids, take some flamer and ion guns, and your win percentage goes up 25% or whatever. I don't feel like losing 30% win percentage on matches where people can tailor their lists to what they know I'm going to bring.
Yeah, and it's not like the factions themselves are bad, right?
No,
it's just that like if you were playing a Rebel opponent or an Empire opponent and you knew exactly what their list was going to be or something close to it before you started, you could hard counter that too.
Yeah, like if you know your Rebel opponent's bringing ATRTs, like you just break a bunch of DLTs, like okay,
or even HS12s.
Yeah. I mean, with their new cost,
yeah,
and it's just like, okay, I guess I win. I mean, it's not that simple. Clearly, I'm
right.
like
it's not
being a little hyperbolic about it, but it does significantly increase your chances of winning, and being able to tailor your list to do stuff like that is sort of there's a portion of that goes on in Invader League just because you know who you're playing. So
yep. Yeah, and if you're playing someone that has tendencies, certainly you tend to scout them. At least in Invader League, scouting is a real thing. So
Yeah, for sure.
And luckily, the three of us all avoided each other in the group stage. We were all in different groups. So
Indeed, we are, and we also avoided the group
grateful
of
for
death,
that.
I believe.
yeah,
Which
I
is
think
group 15.
group
My
15.
group.
Yeah.
Wait, are you in the group of death?
I think my group is the group of death.
Hold up.
Who else?
I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay. Well,
Who else is in
it's
your group?
Dustin Ferran,
Oh, you're
Okay,
right. You
yep.
are in the group of death.
Agreed.
You're right.
Yeah.
Hofberger,
Yep. Okay.
Thrawn from Jedi Journal,
Yeah. All right.
and a couple of other people.
Yeah. You're right. That's pretty bad.
Yeah. So it's currently like all quiet on the Western Front. We've all told each other what times we can play, but none of us are like hurrying to battle here. We're all like super respectful of each other's prowess. So
It's actually an interesting mashup of factions. There's not a single Imperial in your group.
nope, there isn't. It's a lot of rebel versus rebel. It's like 3 rebels.
It's 4
Interesting.
rebels, 1 Republic, 1 droid.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, those are gonna be fun games to watch in that group.
Yeah.
Should be. Dustin's been practicing droids a lot offline since he got his cores at Gen Con.
Yeah, and I think you definitely can succeed with droids in CIS. It's just a little bit more of an uphill battle than it would be with
And
Empire and Rebels.
I mean, Grievous really has to carry you, I think.
Yeah, now he's very capable of doing that.
Oh, totally. I mean, his one
Yeah.
his 1 pip card is maybe the most absurd 1 pip card in the game. I don't know.
Yeah, like don't group your tauntauns
Well,
together.
it's
Don't
not
do
an
that.
now you will die.
Well, but
it's,
sometimes it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like if you hit like 6 units with the spin, like it's better.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't have Pierce, but
Sure.
or quite as strong dice, but yeah, you can definitely hit more things with it.
It's also suppressive, so even if it doesn't kill you, you're gonna pass out a ton of suppression doing that.
I mean, it's like explosions with twice as many dice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a hybrid. It's between the
It's
two.
actually not twice as many dice, but it's basically it's explosions, but slightly better.
But it's also explosions or and now you'll die tacked on to like Darth Vader.
Right.
I mean, I'm a little bit suspect also of tweaking your list to face your opponent's faction. I mean, yeah, sure. Like if it's not a substantial tweak, like I like running, Leia gunline lists with Tauntauns instead of Luke. If I ran against, Dustin, say, or any other CIS player, how would I adjust my list? Well, I probably wouldn't take, uplinks. I'd probably take jammers instead because jammers are so powerful. He might adjust to me. He might take tanks because, the AAT with its high velocity critical gun seems pretty good against Tauntauns, who are not engaged. You can bypass the dodges with high velocity. Like, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and we're not talking about we're not saying that if you're facing droids, go out and just run 100% flamers and ion.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could do that, but generally speaking, it's still advisable to play something you're familiar with.
Yeah, I mean,
so
yeah, don't be an idiot like I was last season and run 5 Astromechs and 3 flamers.
I mean, that sounds really fun.
It was fun to die. That's what it was. It was fun to die to Wookiees and fleets.
But yeah,
you couldn't get in. I got destroyed.
You still have to play a good list. Maybe maybe just swap in a snowtrooper or something for a stormtrooper, or
small adjustments.
Maybe
right.
if you're thinking about taking 1 or 2 snipers, maybe take 2 snipers or 3 snipers against Republic.
Yeah, or maybe consider taking Hunter against Empire because of mortars.
Right.
Yeah. I'm in a weird spot in my group just because there's only Rebels and Imperials, so I don't really get to kind of do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got one.
Which is fine.
Yeah. And you'll get more. The other thing too is like, depending on how many practice matches you get in, for me it's basically 0. So this is like my practice for eliminations. So if I'm playing like weird janky counterpick stuff now, I'm not going to have any idea what I should be doing for elims.
I actually think elims, like overall, elims have been pretty tame over the course of Invader League. I feel like I think it's going to be real funky this time. I think we're going to see some like real crazy stuff kind of happen because people are going to load into a skew and it's actually going to work. It's loading into a skew is not going to really work in a round robin format like we're working in now, but when we're talking about eliminations, I think that it's going to be a big deal.
I think it's definitely going to be more of a thing. There's also going to be, I think it's going to be 48 people instead of 32 that make it to eliminations this time. So you're just going to have a larger population of people. It's an even bigger tournament. Last season it was 96 to start with, I think. And this season it's what, like 140?
It's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot. It's like 150 plus, something like that.
So, yeah, it's big.
I wanted to say it's over 200, but that might be overestimating it. That's when you consider Australia and Europe, who now the tournament's big enough that Australia and Europe are separate divisions. They used to be combined.
Yep.
Yeah, so the growth has been phenomenal.
Yeah, it's been great, and credit to LJ for that. Pushing this thing and organizing it and getting everybody. It's I think folks don't appreciate the amount of organization that goes on behind the scenes. But there's a lot of stuff to say.
I'll just take a second and plug the pre-show we did. If you guys go to the Yavin-based Twitch channel, you can find a VOD of the pre-show that LJ and I did, going over all the maps and talking about who the judges are and who the streamers are, and basically just doing some surface analysis of all the groups. There's some enormous number of groups. It's like 25 groups, so we had to just analyze each one of those. But I mean, if you're interested in that, you can bop on over there, check out that to get some more information about the league itself.
You guys got anything else on Invader League?
Oh man, I'm ready to play.
I'll have more once I start playing games.
Yep.
Yeah,
we'll have plenty of games to bore you guys with lengthy, long-winded battle reports.
Yeah.
No, seriously though, it's always good. Like I said, I don't normally get a lot of practice games in during the week, so Invader League is kind of a rare opportunity for me to do that, even though they count. But it's always better to have stuff to talk about. So,
yep.
All right. Shall we hit Legion 101?
Yeah.
Sure.
It's time for Legion 101. Class is in session.
So with some people now having their core sets, and
you have a core set?
Yeah, I was painting up I swapped with my friend who also got it.
Wow.
So yeah, I was priming my droids yesterday, and hopefully we'll see a general release. The rumor mill's still saying like mid-October, so maybe 2 weeks from now ish.
Yeah, I'm hearing October 18th.
Yeah, that's
from my local sources.
I heard the same, so that would be not this Friday, not next Friday, but the Friday after that. So I guess that would be 3 weeks. There was also an intriguing post on one of the German distributor sites. It was like their coming soon page, basically, and not only did they have Clone Wars on there, but they also had Operative Vader and Luke on there as like coming in October. So it's possible that we get all this stuff dumped to us at the same time.
Wow,
which would be pretty awesome.
That would be good.
So anyway, with folks getting their Clone War core sets now or soon, we thought it would be a good time to we'll do another episode on droids and separatists, but we thought this one would be a good time to talk about Obi-Wan and Republic. So you guys are I'll take a back seat in this one. You guys are the Republic experts.
Oh,
You want to
please.
take it away?
That's very generous. I think I have like maybe 2 games under my belt with Republic onto online.
I'll take
So-
it. I'm a Republic expert.
Yeah, do it.
Mucho Republic expert. All right. So, what do we want to talk about? Are we just talking about Kenobi? Is that the idea?
Well, why don't we just talk about clone troopers and why they're amazing?
Well, they take everything that's good about Rebels and everything about
Okay.
that's good about Imperials, and they squash them together, and that's pretty much the story. Wishbone. You know,
I got your
yeah,
reference.
yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that other than that they're just the best of both worlds, and they cost, an extra what, 7 points over Stormtrooper? No, 9
9.
points over Stormtrooper unit.
If you're talking about Z6 clones versus DLT Storms, it's 77 versus 68.
Yeah,
So.
and I guess they're 15 points more expensive than Z6 troopers, which
Rebel
is
troopers.
significant.
Yep.
When we're talking about clones and GAR generally, we really need to talk about the fact that you can't. There's a lot less room to make mistakes. Not that there's a ton of room already, but you've got less dudes, which goes without saying. But because you have less dudes and less activations, you can't afford to really slip up. And so you really need to. You can't just like willy-nilly fire support. You can't willy-nilly kind of just like run haphazardly over the board. Everything you do has to be like very purposeful. And if you're giving an order to a unit, there needs to be a reason for it. You're not just giving an order to a unit because you're like, oh, well, I'm gonna put an extra order on this support unit because it's there. Your orders in the Republic are very, very essential to what you're doing in a way that Rebels and Imperials don't really use them. Imperials are starting to use them with the comms relay chain, but that's almost kind of free and gimmicky. With the Republic, you don't really have a way to gimmick yourself into extra orders, and you've really got to make sure that when you do toss the orders down, you're putting them in the correct places.
Well, that's because there's abilities, right, that are triggering off these face-ups.
Fire support,
Fire support, General Kenobi, all the command cards that Kenobi brings, and then of course fire support, and of course also which speaks to you can't make any kind of, I'm going to call it a loose move, in that it's like, well, this is a move I make, but it wasn't actually like the best move that I think about what the best move would have been, is because of the token sharing, right? You have to set up your cohesion correctly every time in order to make that work, and you just have to, like you said, protect your guys because you don't have a lot of them, and being able to share tokens is a method that you use to do that. So you got to plan. You got to plan out your turns, and that should be easier because you have less dudes.
In theory,
theoretically,
you really need to be thinking like 2 turns ahead a lot of the time. Specifically, when we're talking about fire support, you need to get them where you want to be fire supporting from, like a turn early.
Yeah, you sort of leave them in the spot they need to be to get the token, and then you have to like make a deliberate choice that says this will be the attacker, this will be the supporting unit, and then go from there.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room, at least at the moment, with being able to be like, oh, I've got 4 core units in your face. You don't know which one's going to do the thing. We're not really in a place like that. So.
Yeah. Do you guys want to talk real quick about token sharing generally, and then also specifically things like overkilling and determining when, like, essentially, like, when you can and should spend tokens is a very different calculus when those tokens belong to your entire army instead of one unit. And do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah. So, um, when I guess just to elaborate a little bit more on what you're talking about there, let's let's take the shore unit because it's a little bit in the limelight at the moment. It's not crazy to have 2 or 3 aim tokens on a shore unit between the one you get from the shores, veers, and like coordinated fire or something.
Or like an aim action.
Or an aim action, right? Yeah, I'm talking about it like it's not like a big deal. Like we don't get our apes from aiming, Kyle.
Yeah, we just get them for free from
yeah,
the start of the turn and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So when you're shooting something with a shore unit, there's no reason not to spend all of your aim tokens. You can't use them for anything else. Once that attack is over with, those aim tokens are dead in the water anyways. So you should just spend them all. No big deal. Conversely, with Republic, if you have access, and even if you have access to other units' aim tokens, and even if you have aim tokens yourself, you need to start doing a calculus that says, okay, I already have enough hits there's 6 dudes in that Rebel Trooper squad. I have 6 hits that have gone through cover right now. I have 4 aim tokens available to me. How many of these aim tokens should I spend to guarantee this elimination? Because the answer is probably not 4. The answer is also probably not 0. But you kind of have to. I mean, you can play with the percentages a little bit there. If you've got 6 hits going through and there's 6 dudes, chances are 2 of them are going to live because they're Rebel Troopers. So the question becomes, how many hits do I need to kill them on average? Okay, so that means I have 9 hits. So that's about 3 aim tokens. And that's to kill them on average.
Right, so you probably want to err on the side of more.
Right. So, but when we're talking about kind of overkilling and stuff, it's all about percentages. And what, at least in my mind, what you really need to be doing here is aiming for what is. You need to decide. There's a major turning point in what you want to be doing, and that you need to decide whether you are going to be efficient over the course of the turn, or whether you are going to be you're going to do one thing really well. I'm going to take this shot and I'm going to kill that unit. Right? Whereas and you might spend all your aim tokens on that shot if it means that much. I'm shooting at Darth Vader this turn. He has to die. I'm spending my entire army's worth of aim tokens on this shot. Whereas if you spread those aim tokens out over the course of multiple shots at different units, you might actually put more wounds in because you don't actually overkill a unit. If you put 9 hits into a Rebel Trooper unit and they fail all 9 saves, you just wasted 3 wounds.
Right, because you could have used those aim tokens to cause those 3 wounds to a different
exactly.
Unit.
So, yep. That's kind of where we're talking about. That doing that is extremely inefficient. And if you're just taking like bludgeoning shots early on in the game, there may be more sense to, okay, this unit has 6 dudes in it. I'm gonna let the 6 hits ride, and then the next shot I take, I'm just that way. I never expend something that never wastes a shot or a hit.
Right. And that said, like, clones are so defensive, those bludgeoning shots, like you're saying, their net effect is amplified because you've reduced their potential to even pass hits through cover. And if they're passing very few hits through cover, there's a chance that you won't even take damage because your surge token will pick it up for you, or your friend's dodge token will pick it up for you. So you don't always have to just go for the kill, right? You can sort of say, okay, I can, if I have access to plentiful surges, I can sort of just ride my defensive efficiency for this turn, and then make a better choice later on when you say, okay, well, if this activation dies, he can't capture intercept, or he can't touch the evaporator, or what have you. Right? It's different than just playing the raw attrition game.
Do you want to talk about spending surge tokens and when to do that also? Like, do you tend to lean towards offense or defense? Or do you just spend it as soon as you can?
Defense.
Really, so my kind of rule of thumb on this is, spend them when you got them. In that, like, spend them when you roll them, rather. Just because I found that surge tokens are kind of fickle, in that a lot of the time, if I don't spend them offensively, I end up like either not rolling armor saves with that unit, or I like don't roll defensive surges. So I try to not save my surge tokens. I there's probably some math behind like saving like 1 or 2 surge tokens on defense instead of spending them on offense. And there's definitely something to it in regards to like overkilling units. Like, you don't want to overkill units.
And I'm going to say something we already know, but the people who are prospective clone players might not know. They should always do the math before spending a surge token and say, if I spend this surge, will it break cover? Will it break dodge? They should always do that.
Yeah,
we're already doing that, but newer players should do that. Always look before you leap.
Yeah, like if you're only getting one hit and they're in heavy cover, and you've got a surge, you shouldn't spend that surge token because it's going to go from 1 to 2, and they're both going to get clipped. So
yep.
And notably, when you're playing against clones, whether it's a clone mirror or whatever, you also need to be knowledgeable about where your opponent's like how much stuff your opponent has access to, because it's not going to be super clear anymore. Like, the dodge tokens that the unit that you're firing at may actually be coming from a different unit. They could be drawing dodge tokens from 4 or 5 different places. So you have to kind of be a little bit more aware of the board state, as opposed to what you're doing this exact instant.
Well, and that's super important with like Obi-Wan, with Sarisu Mastery. Suppose you have like a unit of Death Troopers, which generally doesn't want to shoot Jedi with dodge tokens because those deflect rolls can be pretty brutal. Obi-Wan's got a dodge token, so you're like, I'll just shoot this clone unit over here next to Obi-Wan. Well, he can Guardian those and spend that dodge token and deflect hits back at you still. So
Right.
Keep that in mind,
Right, but then you run into the issue with Sarisu, which is, do I really want to, have my best unit taking a wound like that, even with the deflect?
The answer is, unless you really, 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 really need it to happen, you always only Guardian one.
That's fair.
The one being the dodge token that you have.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's personally how I feel about it. Like, don't get me wrong. There are situations where you want a Guardian 3, and it's situations where like they're shooting at a box carrier and Kenobi's not doing anything other than standing there, protecting things. But generally speaking, right now, if Kenobi is in your army, you probably need him to carry your army a little bit.
Seems thematic, right?
Yeah.
So why don't we? So the shorthand for surge tokens is spend them if you got them, or spend them if you roll them, rather.
Yeah.
The old bird in the hand is worth 2 in the shrub, but like don't waste them. So
yeah, I mean, there's nothing that feels worse than tokens, especially in a clone army where you're like, oh man, I have 6 tokens still on the table and it's the end of the turn. Like, spend your stuff, guys.
Yep. Especially like when you play General Kenobi and you've got like 30 surge tokens on the table anyway, just spend them.
Yeah, just spend
30.
It's
More like 27, but okay.
Yeah, I mean,
the difference.
Tomato.
Is
40 aims.
I mean, it's probably still like 20.
Right.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's depending.
And we're not being facetious anymore. Yeah, legitimately, it's like 20.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of Obi-Wan, you guys want to hit Mr. Kenobi, General Kenobi?
I'm gonna let David do this because he seems to be high on the General Kenobi train.
Oh, I am a huge fan of Mr. Obi-Wan himself. He's great. Like he is everything Luke wishes he could be. He's
those are some tall.
He's got a command slot, which is his best feature. Frankly, is that he's a Jedi with command, which I'm sure that almost every Rebel player wishes that Luke had command. He's got 2 Force upgrades and Master of the Force 1, which is awesome. So if you're taking a power like Force Guidance, Force Reflexes, Force Push, all those exhaustible powers, he's going to get 1 back at the end for free. The other upgrade is Training. Currently, I'm a fan of Tenacity because there's a chance that Obi's going to get wounded because you have Sarasu, which is his Guardian ability. And you're almost always going to have it. He's always going to be like at 1 wound, and that's great because that makes his lightsaber even better. We talked a little bit about Sarasu with the ability to deflect on Guardian, which is really cool. Haven't really done it yet because I don't really like risking Obi-Wan's health pool. He only has 6 health and 3 courage, so I mean he really is Luke in that sense. It's the same body. He doesn't have surges natively, so you're gonna have to get surge tokens through like aggressive tactics or something like that. Which is probably what you should be running on him anyway, because he's going to be your only commander in your army in all likelihood. So yeah, like I think my favorites so far for him are aggressive tactics, Force Reflexes for Sarasu, Force Push, because Force Push is really good, and it's still 10 points, so why don't you just take it? And Tenacity. That's how I would run him currently. Reflexes you can try swapping for Guidance if you like more surges, or if you're running like things that don't really get surges natively, like say Bark Speeders, or if you feel like surges are just good. I think the dodge on Obi is probably better, just because it's a little bit more flexible,
and it works with his Guardian and Sarasu also.
Right, and while he doesn't have offensive surge natively, he does have critical 2 on his lightsaber. So
he basically has crit surge.
He basically has crit surge, yeah. So you got that. You got Impact 2, you got Pierce 2, so it's a Luke saber with slightly less consistent dice, but he's got 2 reds, so he's gonna get those in there.
You've got a better chance. It's a higher floor, lower ceiling, so you've got to it's going to tend towards more quote unquote average results because you're mostly going to get hits on those reds, but you're less likely to get hits on the whites. So whereas Luke's saber, like you've got a basically equal chance of getting 1 hit as you do 6. It's going to be much closer to the mean
right
for Obi-Wan.
I prefer much closer to the meme myself, but okay.
Hello there.
No, but seriously though,
Tenacity also makes it so much better.
Oh yeah,
right, because it's now it's 3 reds. So I mean, there's a very very low chance you'd ever bottom out and roll like 1 hit. Extremely low. And Pierce 2, you're gonna get that. You're gonna get that Pierce when you swing. I've already mentioned it. Sarasu is a dangerous drug. You don't want to overuse it. You want to just take it on the very piecemeal, or when something really has to live. We already mentioned that. Command cards. So you've got General Kenobi, which basically says you get surge tokens for each other friendly unit at range 1 when you get issued an order by Obi-Wan, so you can't uplink your way into surge tokens, which is a very good thing, because if you could, it would be really insane, because you'd end up with even more. But still, it can generate a huge number of surges when your army is in proximity of each other, and clones are like to kind of ball up anyway, because that makes sure the token sharing network is fully established. But you can get a little creative with it. You can go ahead and say, like, I've got these central clone units that are going to be my order targets, and then those guys can feed the rest of the army from those central positions. Usually what I do is I like to take a DC-15, plop it in like a central place, and then have it be the target, and then it shares to all the short-range squads in front. Because I usually run like I've been trying like a 3x3 where you do 3 DC-15s and 3 Z6s. I think I might tend towards a 2 DC-15, 4 Z6 spread with my clones when I do that. But yeah, I mean, it essentially gives your whole army like Death Trooper status when you do this, because there are so many surges, and just about every hit is gonna be, or every surge you roll is gonna get converted. So it's just perfect for like those second turn play. You lose priority, and it's great because you had low activations anyway, so you want that, and you turn on like all your stuff and just grind your opponent into dust. That's kind of what you're trying to do with that card. The other two cards, I guess we could move on to Knowledge and Defense. I haven't found a whole lot of use for this card. Basically, it just gives Obi-Wan a giant dodge stack. That's the big thing. No, seriously.
You have not found a lot of use for a card that gives a Jedi 6 or 7 dodge tokens.
Of all the cards, I haven't really found. Well, mostly it's the using Guardian while in melee component that's really kind of not really sung for me. But having the giant dodge stack is always good. Like,
I mean, so let's talk.
Sure. Tell me how wrong I am.
I have had so much fun with Knowledge and Defense. There are two things this is good for. One is a little risky. The other one not so much. So let's just for a second pretend that this card says during this turn, Obi-Wan Kenobi gets to negate 8 hits against your army. Because that's what it says.
Yeah, if you do nothing else, if you do nothing besides spend those Guardian 1 and then spend those one dodge token at a time on incoming hits, you're going to negate however many he gets, which is going to be like 6 or 7 dodge tokens.
Right. So I mean that could be really good, like no doubt. There's always the whole like what do you call it? Like, well, you can't Guardian crits, and critical 1 weapons don't care about this card, and crits in general don't care about this card. There's always that. Yeah. But
Yeah. The thing is, so the pools that are coming in these days are like Death Trooper shots. It's not like one crit is generally coming through. It's also worth noting. Can you spend a dodge token against a sniper shot with them?
No.
No, you can't.
So,
right?
yeah,
you can't high velocity.
So there's a couple rules caveats, not only to this card, but to Sorosu Mastery and Guardian generally. Like, you can't use it against high velocity. You cannot spend the dodge tokens against high velocity. You can still Guardian those if you want, but also you can only spend 1 dodge token at a time. Like,
yes,
like you can't Guardian 3 and then spend 3 dodge tokens.
Yeah, we messed that up the first time we played this.
Yeah,
I really abused the crap out of it.
Yeah. I laid in there with like 3 hits, and you're like, silly. I'm spending 3 dodge tokens, and I'm like, wow, that's really good. Turns out we were doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but
yeah, that's not how it works. 1 dodge token at a time on Guardian. If someone attacks Obi-Wan directly, of course you can spend like all of them at once if you want, like you normally could.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I think generally speaking, the mode of this card is 7 dodge tokens. You're guardianing 1 7 times this turn. Obi-Wan goes last. And if they shoot Obi-Wan, like it also the card also says Obi-Wan Kenobi is immune this turn.
Right, except to like crits, but
sure. I mean, like, crits are not going to kill him.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose not. I still think that might be overstating the case a little bit, but
I mean, like turn 2. I mean, like you're not playing this card on turn 4 or 5, right? You're playing this card when your army is still bunched up together, and like shit really hasn't hit the fan yet. And yeah, I don't know. This card is a turn 2 play to me, and generally speaking, turn 2 or turn 3. You're sitting at range 3 or 4, and this card kind of is the reverse of. It's kind of like, what's the Rebel command card? The generic
Covering fire.
Yeah, covering fire. Except you get to use the dodges for sure.
Right, because you get them at the start of the turn.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
Right, and you can use Obi-Wan's Guardian to sort of force their hits into your
that's
dodges.
how I feel.
Yeah.
Like that's how I wish covering fire worked. Right. The thing is with covering fire, if that unit has a dodge token, you just shoot something else. Whereas when Kenobi's standing there, it's just like, okay, everybody has dodge tokens. Have fun. You know.
Right.
So I mean, like the other aspect of that is that like if your army is in heavy cover, your army now has heavy cover +1, which is significant.
Yeah,
It's
essentially.
it's not nothing.
Oh yeah. What about this component of the card that says use Guardian during a melee attack? Is that for like tauntauns or something?
I mean, it's cool, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
So this kind of mirrors this Grievous's 2-pip.
Yes.
Because Grievous's 2-pip gives Guardian 2 core units, and you can use it in melee. I've actually used that card a lot for Grievous to like help him win a Jedi duel. But that's inverted, right? Grievous is throwing B1s in front of himself, whereas Obi-Wan is taking the hits on himself with Guardian. But you can use this to kind of like, if an enemy Force user, you know, Luke or Vader or Grievous is not a Force user, but you know what I mean, aggressive lightsaber user, charges one of your nearby clone units. You can kind of use this to blunt that a little bit. A, because you can spend those dodge tokens. B, because Sorosu deflects in melee, so they, you know, that Jedi or whoever who's probably Pierce immune risks wounding themselves on that attack if they're attacking your nearby clone unit. And also, you know, Obi-Wan is Pierce immune, so you're transferring those piercing hits from a unit that is not Pierce immune to a unit that is.
Well, it's not quite that in practice though, because like they're just gonna pierce the other unit still.
Well, right, because probably they're getting more than 3 hits.
Right.
You know, if they're getting 4 or 5 hits, they're gonna be spending at least 1 point of pierce on the unit itself there.
I mean, if they only, you know, jumped in there with Luke and only got 3 hits, that weren't crits, like this was fantastic, right?
Yep.
But it seems like a little bit of a wishful thinking mode for this card, I think.
Yeah, it just, you know, it potentially helps to like blunt a melee charge by a piercing unit.
Yeah.
In a situation like that. But yeah, you just like any other Guardian situation with Obi-Wan, you don't want to overuse it because he is generally more valuable than what he's pulling wounds from. So
For sure.
Unlike Supreme Commander with Grievous, which is hilarious and awesome when you can just throw B1s in front of Grievous. Here, have 6 points. Congratulations.
I mean, you can just see him literally just grabbing the B1 next to him and tossing him at his opponent.
Yep. Exactly.
Speaking of tons of B1s and battle droids, this card art on Hello There is amazing. And that's Obi-Wan's 1-pip. Hello There.
Which is, in my opinion, his best command card by a lot.
Yes. Primarily for the first line, Obi-Wan Kenobi gains nimble.
I'm not sure you go.
Come on, that's ridiculous.
I don't think that's the best part about this command card.
Okay. Well, gaining the standby is of course amazing.
There you go. That's the literal words. You took them out of my mouth. This is Son of Skywalker plus some in disguise most of the time.
Yeah, it is.
Because generally speaking, when you play this, you're already in melee, which means that standby is generally not going to get knocked off you.
Except you got to be careful about force push and Jedi.
There's some caveats to that for sure. But if you're playing against Grievous, that's not going to happen probably. You know.
Right. I think those are literally the 2 things: force push and Jedi mind.
Yeah, I mean, like there's some corner cases like Jyn Erso hitting you with her stun baton and like stuff like that. But overall,
I don't think you need to play hello there to win that matchup.
Probably not. Probably not. Tenacity to Obi-Wan probably just wins straight up.
Well, here's another interesting thing though. It's a 1 pip, but you don't want to use Obi on the 1 or at the first activation because you don't get the chance to use your standby if you attack.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a little bit. It's not your usual 1 pip for sure.
The thing about it is that you play a 1 pip and you're like, okay, I'm gonna take a standby token. I'm gonna take like 1 or 2 aims, and then I'm taking like somewhere between 1 and 4 dodges, right? So
if I can get my whole opponent's army in range.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, if you're not in range of the opponent's whole army, it's 1 standby, 1 aim token, and then the rest are dodges.
Right.
And that is more than enough. Like, he doesn't need to go first because whatever's attacking him first is not going to kill him.
Yep.
It's actually
yeah, and if the guy he's in melee with attacks him, he doesn't lose a standby unless it's a suppressive melee.
Right. That's just like
that's Jin basically.
And
right, that's
the
Jin.
other thing is that like if anything activates around him, he just murders whatever he's in melee with, and then you go.
Yep.
Yeah,
and then he's free to go.
Yeah. So one other rules nuance with this card is as far as Nimble is concerned. Nimble only procs when you are the defender.
Yeah.
So bear in mind you cannot use that dodge token and Nimble together with Guardian.
This was another thing we screwed up. Sorry, Kyle.
I
really took advantage.
I think I still won that.
Yes,
game.
you did. Shut up.
Because Grievous is awesome. Anyway, so yeah, it's a great card. My struggle with this has been, I mean, it's a late game card because it's not going to be generally until then that Obi-Wan is actually like in the middle of your opponent's army, because he spends the first part of the game basically keeping your clones alive, which is fine. That's how he rolls, right? That's perfectly thematic. Yeah.
Maybe you have like a assault intervening in there, and then play hello there on 4 when he's actually in your opponent's face, or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely like a turn 3 through 6 play.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're using the assault turn to like get him in there and go last with him, and then first with hello there. Ideally, you're gonna like double move, force pull something into you, and then play hello there on the following turn to get your standby going.
If you haven't played with Force Push on a user with Master of the Force, let me tell you, it's good.
Yeah, he's got speed 2 and jump 1. Also,
hot take right there.
Yeah, well, Force Push is good. Like,
free refreshing Force Push.
It's pretty good on Luke, and Luke uses it once, maybe twice a game sometimes. It's just so much better on a user that has it every single turn. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, and unlike
that's
Vader,
the other thing, I mean, not unlike Vader. Vader is now also speed 2, Kyle. God,
that's true.
Jeez.
He doesn't have jump though.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
man. Obi-Wan's insane. Go forth and conquer. Like, just don't get killed on your way in. That's all.
So here's a question for you guys. If let's live in like La La Land real quick here. If Obi-Wan Kenobi had the faction Rebel Alliance, would you just always take him over Luke Skywalker?
100%.
Or OG
yeah,
Luke
100%.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah,
the fact of the matter is he doesn't, right? And he fits into
No, yeah. I'm being hypothetical here. Clearly.
I mean, for fifth,
no, like I mean, if you put him side by side, yeah, of course, and that's how it should be. Obi-Wan was eminently a better Jedi than Luke could ever hope to have been.
Yeah, all I'm trying to do here is frame people's perspective.
But yeah, he's better than Luke Skywalker. Unfortunately, Rebels can't take him. So, but yeah, like you said, putting it into perspective a little bit. He's strong. He's good.
He's very good. And thematically, maybe try running Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker together, just for fun.
Yeah, why not?
And there's no reason, we talk about competitive a lot. Clearly, that's what this podcast is about. But, one of my favorite things about some of the other war games that we play is that there's narrative scenarios and stuff. There's no reason that you can't put those two units in an army together and have some fun on a Sunday afternoon or whatever. So,
yep. All right. Well, should we launch into our interview with Mr. ATST himself, Starscream?
Yeah, let's talk to the guy.
Yeah, let's do it. Pew 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 pew.
And we're back with Starscream. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on, guys?
So I have two questions for you. The first is, are you really Eric Reha?
No, definitively not.
Can we hear an impression?
All right,
no.
You can't do Christopher Walken. He's not.
No, I cannot do Walken
Reha.
at all.
Right.
I cannot do Walken at all. I could just do natural Reha voice.
You are the Eric Reha impression.
Yes.
So we know you as Starscream on the Discord. Do you have a real name, or everybody just calls you
Rob.
Starscream? Okay.
Rob will be Rob or Starscream, whichever you prefer.
All right, cool. Rob is one syllable less, so I think
That'll
we'll stick
work.
with that. Do you want to tell us briefly a little bit about who you are, what you do, why you love Legion? Maybe a little bit about your local scene briefly.
My local scene, for the most part, is TTS. There is a local store that runs a monthly game that I try to hit as often as I can, but a lot of time it interferes with real life. So most of my Legion games come on TTS. I hit the local maybe every 3 or 4 months. And then Theme was the biggest reason. This is the first real miniatures game I've played competitively. I dabbled in X-Wing, but just at home, never in an event. This was by far the first tabletop competitive game I got in, which a large part of the appeal was the theme and not having to clip sprues, which that is quickly coming to an end.
Rip.
So I guess you're not playing droids then.
No, I'm a one faction only guy.
The best faction for all you nitpickers out there.
Correct. Also,
Can you sorry.
No, go ahead, David. This is an important question.
Can you transform into a giant killer robot jet?
No, but I can transform into a giant chicken walker robot killing machine.
Because you just love playing the ATST so much.
I love the ATST.
Speaking of ATSTs, tell us about this list that you've been rocking at this RPQ.
So I went through a couple different versions of it. The first version was Veers Bosk, ATST, Shores, etc. And then through testing and talking to some people on the Discord, I switched it over to Krennic, ATST, Double Shore, Double Mortar, DLT Stormtrooper Squad, and a lone Sniper Strike team. The biggest reason for the switch to Krennic was Tauntauns.
And you feel like he's a good Tauntaun counter?
Yeah, his command cards work extremely well against Tauntauns. Deploy the Garrison was clutch in both the games that I faced Tauntauns to stop them from getting in, or at least make them think before they came in.
Do you want to talk about how you've been an ATST player for a while. Now it is both cheaper and also has access to some new tools between the Hammers pilot and then soon link targeting array. Do you want to talk about how you what build you use for the ATST and how it functions in your list?
Yeah. So this key factor for this was LTA was obviously not legal yet, so that was not built into this list. But I am very pro on the Hammers pilot. I like them a lot better than the AIM pilots. So the ATST was kitted out with the Elite Armor pilot, the Twin 88s, and the mortars. And essentially the gist of the list is Entourage of the Death Troopers, throw some mortars on the shores, and then the mortars have the relays, like you guys have talked about a number of times, to bounce the orders around. So essentially, both shore squads, the DTs, and the ATST has a face-up order token every single turn except for the VA round. And that just allowed me to hold that.
Just for those that aren't hot on the on all the Discord acronyms, it's Voracious Ambition.
Yes.
Yep.
And then even on the
continue.
VA turn, you have pretty decent order control. You might not necessarily get everything that you want, but your bag's cut down a lot. So, but that's the gist of it. Get the free aim tokens on the shores, and then you have the activation control over the ATST to either save it for the very end, or if an opponent makes a mistake and leaves something in the open that they shouldn't, immediately activate it to punish.
In your games, do you track how many kills the ATST makes?
I do not, though I probably should.
I'm just curious. It seems so powerful now with these new tools.
It really is. And I got, speaking of the RPQ specifically, I feel like I got a little bit lucky on my draws because I played Rebels 4 rounds in a row, which I know myself and Endless have played quite a bit. We both beat each other plenty of times on TTS. But he's felt the pain of the ATST just wiping a Z6 squad in one shot multiple times. So that
it hurts. Suddenly you're upside down. Like you're like, well, I didn't expect that to happen. Well, I kind of expected it, but at the same time, it's like, why?
Yeah. The other thing that the ATST gives you, and I like this before before the points change, I was big on the tank. I played the tank a lot through Team League, and then the points change happened, and I immediately jumped back on the ATST. And the thing that I realized that I missed the most, which I don't know how you factor this into the points cost, or how good or bad the unit is. I know people say that it's not efficient if you look at the numbers, but the height advantage that it just gives you shots on things in the open that no other unit in the game can give you. And to me, that's huge.
Yeah, they call that the Eye of Sauron effect on the ATST.
Yes, the ATST is the Eye of Sauron. But there's been plenty of times where, something that the opponent either thinks it's in heavy cover or against any other unit it would be in heavy cover, and the ATST is like, nope, you're not obscured, sorry.
So do you run coordinated fire in this list?
I do, and I think 3 out of my 4 games that was the first turn card that I played. I think multiple times, at minimum with the coordinated fire, I don't think I had under 4 aim tokens when that ATST activated.
So you're talking basically about 9 dice with 4+ aim tokens.
Yes. And the one thing that I do that I think a lot of people don't do is I took the mortars, and that allowed me to play it a lot safer. I ran into a lot of Rebel armor. 2 of my games had RTs. One was triple rotary RT and a fully kitted land speeder. And then the other one was double laser RTs and a Tauntaun. So it just allowed me to hang back and be able to shoot those RTs at range 4 where they had to walk into me to get the range 3 shots.
How do you feel about mortars against armor in general?
I'm sorry, what was that? Mortars against armor in general? Saturday it worked out pretty well. Like I said, I do take the twin light for when it gets in. I think it's just the ability to always guarantee the 9 dice pool without having to sacrifice moving the ATST forward, because as David could tell you, the ATST can die, and it could die very easily if you get the right dice pool against it, or you just get that Z6 shot with a bunch of crits in it. So you do have to be a little bit careful with it. You start getting to that range 3 bubble, even against Imperials with DLT Stormtroopers. I know Garn, who is also at this RPQ, has killed plenty of my ATSTs on TTS with just Stormtrooper DLT shooting it. So you do have to play it a little bit safe.
That said, like all heavy units, you can't go in piecemeal and expect to succeed. Like if you don't kill it, you're just wasting your time. But that's kind of the strength of it too, right? Like it doesn't degrade while it takes damage until you get to 8 wounds. Plus, you're also, not suppressing your opponent while you're shooting it. So there's some pretty big risks to engaging it as well as benefits.
Yeah, once you get on that path, you have to commit to it. If you make up your mind you're gonna kill the ATST, then that has to be your sole focus until the ATST dies. I think the biggest mistake you can make is starting to shoot at armor, whether it's an ATST or a tank, put a couple wounds on it and be like, man, this just isn't working out. Let me now start shooting at his core. And that's just not a good place to be in.
You know, it's literally been a year since we've had this conversation in competitive Legion, because I'm remembering back when, you know, during old KP and like post Gen Con 18, this was the conversation that was being had. Was like, how do you handle it? And people were like, oh, we should bring HH12s, we should bring speeder bikes, and so maybe those units will come back.
They could. The land speeder that I fought did have the ion gun on it, and I did get an ion token on the ATST, but he had 5 aims from coordinated fire, so with the one droid that I run, I actually healed the wound instead of removing the ion token and just took the one action to shoot with 5 aims.
Makes sense to me.
And it did not end well for the land speeder.
Well, and in a setup like that, one ion token is really not much of an obstacle for you. Like, as long as you can take the attack action, you're probably fine.
Yeah, especially on the CF turn.
Yeah, that's another beautiful synergy between like spotter and coordinated fire in the ST, is that like you only need that one action to get all your damage out there. So that single ion token is irrelevant.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with just the one astromech. I basically took it less so to actually heal it, because healing 2 wounds isn't like the end of the world. It was more just in case someone did run some crazy ion shenanigans. Because you never know at a local. You get all sorts of crazy skew lists. You never know what you're going to run into.
Yeah, I mean that's a great thing to say, because we heard there was this really cool list at your event that was like some sort of 3 Ton, 3 Veteran Mark II thing that was going down. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so that's the list that I played in the finals. He was running, I don't know the exact list, but it was Leia, triple Vets, triple Mark IIs, single sniper, triple Tons with comm jammers. One of the vet squads had the heavy weapon, and they all had HQ uplinks and comm relays. So essentially what his primary tactic was to play Leia's 1 pip, uplink all the Mark IIs, and use the orbital bombardment and fire support every single shot. Which, if you could pull it off, can be decimating. And then he follows it up with the Tauntaun Rush. So I deployed extremely far back. It was an AP, and I stayed in the corner of the map and essentially stunted that from the start, and forced him to come into me.
Yeah, I mean, there's like if that turn 1 triple uplink coordinated bombardment play, like if your opponent doesn't give you those shots, it seems like there's not a lot of meat to that list. You know, if you can't land that wombo combo on the first turn.
Yeah, and he didn't end up getting off Leia's 1 pip until turn 6, and he didn't actually take a shot with the orbital bombardment. He just played it for the 1 pip to get Leia on the center KP. But at that point, it really didn't matter.
So yeah, I know that list concept has been kind of a fad that's been floating around, but for those that are running up against it, if you kind of just be patient, you know, like it telegraphs itself, right? The list is going to have 3 MK2s, Leia, and a bunch of uplinks in it. If you run up against that, just do what Rob did. Deploy back and make sure that, you know, he's not getting those shots on the MK2. Know that it's going to be about like 8 inches forward from his deployment zone, because I assume those vets had recon intel on them.
Yeah, and it was recon intel plus advanced positions, so he was basically had his whole army camped on the middle KP essentially from the start of the game. Like his Mark IIs were in the middle KP was essentially like a double barricade, and his MKs were in there right from the start of the game. So it was me waiting for he sent his Tauntauns in. It was me spending a couple rounds cleaning up the Tauntauns and then slowly starting to force my way into his army. And the first thing I did was pick off the Mark IIs as best as I could, and he only had 1 Mark II left towards the end, and that like broke up the synergy of his list essentially.
So I want to just go back to your list real quick. You're also participating in Invader League, right?
Yes.
Is this, I don't want to give too much away to your opponents, but are you going to be rocking something similar for Invader League?
It's in the bag, depending on the map. You know, in Invader League, you get to custom tailor against the map and the opponent and the faction. So it's definitely towards the top of the list, and it'll probably something that will see the table again for sure. There's some small tweaks that I would probably make to it, since some more things are
like
legal
what?
now that weren't legal for my RPQ. The biggest addition will be LTA. That's just an auto include, since the ATST has a face-up token 5 out of 6 turns.
Linked targeting array.
Yes, sorry. And then I would like to get binoculars on Krennic, but I don't know what I would have to cut to make that happen. To get link targeting array in, I would probably cut. I have Hunters on the Death Troopers currently. I would probably cut Hunter for the LTA, since it's a guaranteed aim 5 out of 6, whereas the Hunter may or may not trigger. And then binos, I might have to cut mortars, but I don't know if I want to do that yet, because the mortars, I think I shot more with the mortars in 4 games than I did with the Twin Light, to be honest.
This seems fair. It's a good way to economize Krennic too, when you think about it, because like, what's he doing back there for like the first few turns?
The only time he really did anything is shoot at Tauntauns when they got remotely close, and that was like maybe 2 actions throughout an entire 4-game tournament.
Yeah, so now you just give him a job with the binos.
He can hand a name token off to the DTs or the ST or the Shores or whatever I think needs one at the time.
Awesome. Is there anything else? So you said you are an Empire player. Is there anything else about Empire that you're excited about in the next few months besides link targeting array?
The thing that also felt really good, this was the first time that I've played a bunch of games in a row since the points changes. Death Troopers feel real nice right now when you don't have to worry about snipers. I lost one Death Trooper model the entire day.
One?
Oof.
One model, and it was in the final game.
So how many, so you faced 4 rebels, how many of them had more than one sniper?
0.
List?
Okay. I think I saw one sniper in the final game, and that might be actually the only sniper I saw all day from rebels.
Yeah, so actually we've been talking about this on the cast a little bit. Snipers are still good, people. Like, especially important for rebels because of this reason.
They buff snipers and then everybody takes them off the table. I don't
know that it's a buff, but
I'm eating my words a little bit, because I think I said a couple episodes ago, I think I may have said this is a nerfed unit, don't play it. But that was just my instinct. That was my instinct. It's not indeed not the truth necessarily.
My favorite part of the sniper change has been, and I think you guys may have mentioned this on a cast right when the points changes came out, was that it kind of unlocks the ability that you don't feel terrible just taking one. Like, I take one in this list, right. It's the back cap guy, and then odds are he can also contribute on turns 3, 4, 5, and 6 when things kind of tighten up a little bit. Whereas before, you would never take a single sniper. Like, it's just going to get destroyed. And now that's very viable as opposed to a naked stormtrooper squad. I think it has a bigger impact in the later stages of the game.
Yeah, because the snipers can't really threaten each other. And if they're not running Leia or Veers, they're not going to have any other unlimited range weapons. So
yeah, you might have to play a little coy if they have Veers. Like I went against Leia every single game, and I just completely hid them on deployment because I knew they're probably not going to get to shoot at anything round 1 anyways. So I'll just completely hide them, let them do their 1 pip, and then move them out to do whatever they need to do. Which wasn't much. The other thing that I should mention is I got KP twice and breakthrough twice, so there wasn't a whole lot of moving from my deployment zone for most of the day.
Awesome. Well, congrats, man. So I guess we'll see you. In March in Chicago at Adepticon.
Indeed.
Did you send Garnanina a picture of you with the trophy?
I posted one in the Discord, but I did not send one to him specifically yet. He had a fairly good day until he was playing a very recon intel heavy list and ran up against the Triple Mark II list that we previously discussed.
Yeah, I think he said he didn't quite appreciate quite how it worked, and he did the coordinated fire recon intel forward thing, which is probably about the last thing you want to do against that kind of list.
Yeah, it did not end well for him. He walked up to my table about 40 minutes into the round, and I just looked at him and go, "You won already?" And he went, "I'm out. I'm heading home."
Yikes.
Well, I'm sure he's not going to let that happen to him again.
Probably not.
All right, you guys got anything else for Rob?
No.
Rob, you got anything?
Man, I'm good. I'm gonna look forward to playing you again, maybe an Invader League single limbs if we both make it.
I have Kingsley in my group, so I only have one spot to fight for, so I don't know what's going to happen.
Are there, so maybe I missed the memo on this. Are there 2 spots in every group that are getting out?
Yep.
Yeah, unless you have Kingsley in your group, then you only have one.
Oh. Sure.
In theory,
Kingsley
there's
will be
2 per
fine.
group. In theory, I only have one in
Okay.
mine.
I assumed that it was only one getting out, and then everybody else was essentially fighting for wildcard slots like last time. But
No, last season 2 got out.
I apparently am wrong.
Yeah, it was 2.
Yeah.
It was 2 in every group last season.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it always is.
I am misremembering.
Yeah, Stevens and I were in the same group last year, and we both made it out.
Gotcha. Yo, so speaking of Stevens, did you tell him to bring a tank to a certain tournament this year?
I did not tell him. I said, I suggested myself, and I believe Ellis both. It wasn't just me.
Okay, all right. I just want you to know that I showed up to that tournament, and he was like standing there staring at the table, and he was just cursing you out.
I suggested.
Fantastic.
I did not force. I don't even know where he lives. I did not drive there and place the tank in his bag. I said, "Boy, those look like good tank maps," and I said it wouldn't be a bad idea, And then he made that choice on his own.
Yeah.
Then it turned out you were living rent free in his head.
Yeah, who knew?
Right.
All right. Well, thanks, man, and good luck. Good luck both in Invader League and also in March at Adepticon.
Thank you, you gentlemen.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yep, no problem. Good luck in Invader League to you guys too.
All right, so that was our interview with the illustrious Starscream, aka Rob, or is it Rob, aka Starscream?
We'll never know.
Yep. And I think that's all we have for this week. Next week, I'm sure we're gonna have some Invader League games to drone on about, and
we should do
maybe we'll even have
Separatists.
some. Okay, yeah, we could.
Yeah.
I could all talk all day about Separatists.
I would love to hear that.
Now they're the new rebels and they're bad.
You shut your mouth.
Yeah, I look forward to reporting your first loss.
No, I'm really excited about them for various reasons. As soon as I saw that they were on Spruce, I'm like, that's what I'm playing. And then, as it turned out, they're pretty awesome on the table too, and they fit my play style because I can have full control of everything, which is what I like. So
He's not a control freak, we promise.
only on the 6x3, really. All right, we should land this plane before it crashes.
Yeah, I think it already has.
All right. Well, we are the Notorious Scoundrels. I'm Kyle.
I'm Mike.
And I'm David.
Join us next week for another episode of the Notorious Scoundrels.
This has been a Fifth Trooper production.